Howdy friends, welcome to Classic Azeroth. If you're considering playing a Restoration Druid, then there's 4 really main specs in which you can play. I mean, there's a lot of variations, but these are the 4 main specs that I would recommend going for. And I want to start out now with what's called the Moonglow spec. So something I really enjoy about Druids is they have a lot of flexibility in their playstyles and in their talents. They don't actually typically go one direction with their talents. They usually want to pick at least go over 2 trees, sometimes take out of all 3, but I wanted to start right now with what's called the Moonglow spec. In my opinion, this is the most powerful restoration spec. It's got a lot of power bonuses to healing, it's a very flexible spec, very mana efficient, you'll see that as I go through the talents, and it allows you to have the improved buffs and access to really powerful dots. A lot of damage can be done with this, but it's also a very competitive healing spec. So going into it, you want to get improved Mark of the Wild. With every spec you get, the buffs you have, you want to make sure that you're coordinating with other druids so they know who does and doesn't have the improved Mark of Wild, or over here, improved Thorns. If you're both getting them, it doesn't hurt the raid, but those talents could have gone somewhere else that might have been a better use. So if you've got 2, maybe 3 druids in your guild or you plan on raiding with, it's good to coordinate with them just so you know. I wouldn't respec just to put those talents somewhere else if they do or don't have something. If they do or don't have the improved Mark of the Wild or something. But I'm saying that you at least want to, if you have guildies you know you're going to be raiding with, communicate with them and see who does and doesn't have it. So like I said, improved Mark of the Wild we're going to start with. We're going to go down to improved Healing Touch. And you don't need to get it in this order, but I'm just kind of telling you what you want. So you want Reflection here, allows 15% of your mana to regenerate while casting. Every Restoration Druid needs that. It's fantastic. Insect Swarm, this is like I said, you get those improved dots, but we're getting this not because we need the dot, but because we want access to Gift of the Nature. Having this powerful dot that reduces the hit chance by 2% is fantastic, just another added bonus. So Tranquil Spirits, now read this one here, it says reduce the mana cost of your Healing Touch and Tranquility spell by 10%. That is going to save you a lot of mana as you're in the raid because you're going to be casting pretty much nothing but Healing Touch with this spec. Usually you're going to be a tank healer and you want it to be as efficient as possible. So realize we have that 10% right there. Nature's Swiftness, that's pretty much a must for every restoration spec. It's too good to be able to just save the tank, blast them with a full heal. Now Gift of the Nature increases the effects of all healing spells by 10%. Now this is for base healing. This doesn't give total healing 10%, it's the base healing is 10%. So it's not as effective as it seems, but we're still going to get it. So we're going to come over here to the balance tree. Now here is where you get a lot of flexibility in the Druid. So frankly, this is why it's called the Moonglow spec, is we're going to go for this ability here, Moonglow, which reduces the mana cost of your Moonfire, Starfire, Wrath, Healing Touch, Regrowth, and Rejuvenation spell. That is a lot of abilities that are going to be reduced, are going to have reduced mana. So we want that, and we also want Nature's Grace. Pretty much everything else in here is optional with what you want, and that's what I love about Druids. They have so much flexibility in how they can play because they only need like a few talents. Everything else is what you want. But this is what I do. I always get 1 in Nature's Grasp, and I put 4 in Improved Wrath. You can put 5, like I said, you have the flexibility, but I'm going to go down to Improved Moonfire. I love the dot power that these have. Both of these dots combined is a lot of extra damage that you're not going to get otherwise, and it really helps if you're in a combat and you want to save mana. Put the dots on, let your mana regenerate, works perfectly. Natural Shapeshifter I really like. Improved Nature's Reach. Let's just assume that another Druid has improved Thorns. So then we're going to come down here, boom, boom. And then we have 1 point left. And this can go anywhere. It does not matter. Everything is a good option. I mean, I wouldn't go for Threat. Never do Threat as a healing spec. At least I don't advise it. But we can either do Improved Regrowth or Improved Rejuvenation. I know I don't typically use Regrowth a lot in raids. It can be good to put it here, but instead I'm going to put it in Improved Rejuvenation. Not a lot of power out of that one talent, but like I said, the main thing we have is Tranquil Spirit and Moonglow. That's where we're going to get the majority of our value here, because look at that. That's 9% here, 10% here. Your Healing Touch is going to be, or the mana cost is going to be reduced by almost 20%. When can you consider that's one of the only spells you're casting? That is a lot of mana efficiency. And we've got the bonus healing from these 2. If you want to go full healing, the most competitive spec, I found this one to be the most useful. The efficiency is huge. Your heals are already very powerful with Healing Touch. You just want to make them more efficient. So this is the Moonglow spec. Really recommend it. Okay, next we're going to do my very favorite Restoration Druid spec. This one, when I first saw it, this is what made me want to play a Druid. I saw the spec and I was like, this is what I'd like to play. This seems too good to be true. At first glance, it appears to be like a feral spec, but it's not. So I will explain to you why this spec works so well. So again, we're going to assume, like for my guild, I have a Druid that is going to be doing improved Mark of the Wild and improved Thorns. I don't need to get them. He's already going to be bringing them. So I'm going to be a little selfish and go straight here to Fervor. Go straight down here to Improved Healing Touch. 1 point Improved Rage, because we want the flexibility of the spec. Reflection, a must. Insect Swarm, Tranquil Spirit, and then Nature's Swiftness. We are done with Restoration. That is 21 points in Restoration. We're moving to Feral. Now, like I said, same with the Moonglow spec, you've got a lot of flexibility here. You can go almost anywhere in this tree, except you have to get one thing. Actually, two things. Fairy Fire. This is really good in raids. It's usually one of the 6 because it doesn't stack, or it stacks with Sunder Armor, so you can get additional armor reduction. All the melee and hunters will appreciate you for having this one. But you need Heart of the Wild, and I'll get into why later. So Ferocity, this is what I usually recommend. I want to go into Feral Instincts, Thick Hide. We're only going to do 3 in Thick Hide. Alright, so I want to go down here and get Feral Charge, Sharpened Claws. I'm going to get Primal Fury for Bear. Now, you might notice I'm doing all my improvements for Bear form. You can, with this spec, you can put all these points into Cat form, better Cat form if you'd like. Instead of Primal Fury, I could put the points in Blood Frenzy. It works fine. However, I'm generally using Bear form more often because I'm a healer. I want that sustainability against warriors, rogues, any class that's other than casters. It gives me that extra bit of survivability. I usually use Bear form, but Cat is perfectly viable with this build because the only thing we need is Heart of the Wild. So Predatory Strikes, Fairy Fire, Feral. This is pretty much a must. This is one of the 2 abilities you need to have. Savage Fury, and then Heart of the Wild. Bam. This is my preferred spec. It's my favorite spec that a Druid can do. It is competitive. A lot of people say it'll fall behind Moonglow, but look at why it does so well. Heart of the Wild. This is the best 5-point talent in the game. Nobody has a talent. Nobody has 5 points they could put in anything better than Heart of the Wild. So increases your intellect by 20%. So you get intellect. In addition, while you're in bear form, your stamina is increased by 20%. So we got 20% intellect flat out. Bear form is 20% more stamina. And while in cat form, your strength is increased by 20%. That is an incredible spec. You get, total 60 additional stat increases across the board, but you always get the intellect. So what this is going to do is give you a bigger mana pool. You're going to have a higher crit chance because you have more intellect. And when you come over here, you've got the reduced mana cost of your healing touch. More mana, less expensive heals. It's going to help you a lot in raids. You've got the additional crits, very mana efficient. And as an added bonus with this one, you can be a cat form or a bear form. I don't recommend using this to DPS on the side. You can, but when you don't have, you really need to have Omen of Clarity and natural weapons if you want this to be a competitive DPS spec at all. Most people want you to have Leader of the Pack, so it's not a DPS spec, but it is a bear form. An off tank. You could even main tank. You could take over, and you can definitely tank 5-mans with this. It'll do fantastic in 5-mans because you've got this improved threat, and all this extra damage is going to help you hold threat. You've got the extra armor. It is a very competitive feral tanking spec. And by competitive, I mean your healers won't hate you because you picked it. And don't forget, you get that extra 20% stamina. So I feel like I'm trying to sell this spec to you, but it's my favorite. Like, I see the spec, I'm like, okay, that's what I want to play as a Druid. It works really well. It does get a little bit of criticism. People say it's the secondary spec. I found it to do fantastic. You just want to focus on getting gear that gives you a little bit more intellect so you can take advantage of Heart of the Wild. Okay, next we have the Swiftmen spec. Now this is the true deep restoration spec that gives you pretty much everything in the restoration tree. It's not my favorite spec, and I'll show you why, but let's go into it first. So we're going to go into improved Mark of the Wild. Again, you can coordinate with your guild to see who has the improved talent points. If you're doing this spec, I recommend you be the one that does it. So let's go to improved healing touch, And we're actually going to go all the way into Nature's Focus. Like I said, this is a full healing build. It's all in for restoration. So Tranquil Spirits, as I mentioned before, reduces the mana cost. Gotta have that. Nature's Swiftness, Gift of the Wild. Now we're going to go ahead and get Improved Rejuvenation, which increases the effect of your rejuvenation by 15%. This one's improves the critical effect chance of your regrowth by 50%, so it makes it where it almost always crits. It crits more often than it doesn't, so that one's really beneficial. And then Swiftmen. Now, I don't love Swiftmen. I mean, it is helpful in a rough situation, but if you look here, what it does is it consumes a rejuvenation or regrowth effect on a friendly target and heals them equal to the amount of 12 seconds for regrowth. 12 seconds of rejuvenation or 18 seconds of regrowth. Now, what you're going to find though is it consumes the heal over time and it costs 20% of your base mana. This is a very expensive ability to give them an emergency heal. On top of this emergency heal that you already have, to me, it's more redundancy than you need. It could be useful. If you're in a fight where your tank is dropping health way too quickly and you need to boost them up, then yeah, maybe this spec could do it for you. It does have the improved dots. It's kind of the do-it-all spec, but the trouble it has is I don't think it's as mana efficient as the other specs because you don't have Heart of the Wild or Moonglow. But we'll put the remainder of our talents over here. You can put these anywhere, but I prefer to put them in balance. So I'm going to put them in Natural Shapeshifter and just try to see how close I can get to, there we go. So it doesn't matter if you get Improved Entangling Roots, you can get really anything you want. You can even put these in the Feral Tree and try to get that Feral Charge if you plan on PvPing with it. In that case, it would do pretty well, but like I said, Heart of the Wild, Moonglow are kind of the top specs in my opinion. But if your guild needs it, hey, you've got full and heal. If you don't plan on doing anything else, not a bad spec. Alright, and this last one is the Hot Druid. It's heal over time. This one is kind of a hybrid in between the Moonglow and the Swiftmen. Alright, so starting off, you want to put Improved Mark of the Wild. You want to go down to Improved Healing Touch, Reflection, that one's non-negotiable, always get Reflection. Put 1 point in Nature's Focus, and then Improved Rejuvenation, because you want the heal over times with this spec. This spec is really good if you're going to be operating as you're not the main tank healer, but you're going to just be keeping the rest of the raid up by putting heal over times on people and just kind of keeping the raid alive. It's really competitive for that one. And I like it more than the Swiftmen spec, not as much as Moonglow. However, if you're not single target healing, this one works perfectly. So we're going to Improved Rejuvenation, Tranquil Spirit 2, Swiftness, or Nature's Swiftness, Gift of the Wild, straight into Improved Regrowth. Because you're going to be casting this one a lot, that 50% increased crit chance, fantastic. Then you're going to put all your points back into balance. Like I said before, you can do this any order you want. I'm going to just pick, actually I want Natural Shapeshifter, I want the improved buffs. We're going to put the last bit here, and Nature's, there you go. You're going to get Nature's Grace. Now, I didn't mention this one in depth in the Moonglow spec, but this one, all spell criticals grace you with Blessing of Nature, reducing the cast time of your next spell by 0.5 seconds. Now, when you compare that with Improved Regrowth, you're going to get a lot of crits. You want to be casting lower rank regrowths throughout the raid, and you're going to have a really fast cast time, and you can just kind of give everybody a lower rank regrowth. It's really good for keeping the whole raid alive. Not the best for single target heals, because remember, you don't get the Moonglow, you don't get this for Nature's Touch. So not my favorite, but if you're in that position, this spec does the best. Well, everybody, those are the 4 Restoration Druid specs. I hope that if you are considering a Restoration Druid, one of these is helpful for you. A thing I love about them is they're very flexible. There's a lot you can do with them. If you want something that's a little bit more focused on grinding, like say you want to be able to heal, but on the side you need to farm mats, Moonglow, Heart of the Wild, all of the specs allow you to do that. You can change them up to your needs. If you're someone that, hey, I've got an alt to farm, I want to only focus on PvE, change the spec up accordingly, and you'll get pretty much everything you want out of these specs. So I hope this is able to help you out. If you have any questions, ask them down in the comments. I am very close to my 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you want to continue to see content like that, I'm so close to it. I would really appreciate any subscriptions. If you can or don't want to, that's fine too. Other than that, I thank you for your time, and I'll see you guys next time.